1 minute. We have Tom and James on.
Hi, all.
Hi.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joyce Sacco with the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania. I want to welcome you to today's webinar. Before we get started, I want to provide you with information about logistics. Make sure you get online while we talk so you can access the visual component of this presentation. You should have received an email from me yesterday afternoon. First, click the Ready Talk link, enter your name, email address, and click Register, and you will be given access to the meeting. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please type them in using the chat feature in the lower left-hand screen. We will answer your questions throughout the presentation. Finally, the PowerPoint presentation will be sent out after the webinar today. I'd like to introduce our Executive Director, Elizabeth Hirsch. Liz?
Hi, everybody. This is Liz. Welcome to this planning call for our discussion call about the National Development Council Economic Development Finance Certification Program that's going to be offered in Pennsylvania in 2016 and 2017. It's actually going to be a week in April in 2016, a week in September in 2016, and then April and September 2017. It's spread out over that period of time because it's 20 full days, and it's a lot for people to take that much time out of the office. So you have plenty of advance notice. What we want to do today is go through a little bit about why we're bringing this course to Pennsylvania, actually to the western part of the state, what some of the expectations are, and Tom Jackson from NDC is going to go through the program that's actually provided. And before I turn it over to Tom to walk through what the course actually is, I'd like to introduce Patrick Early. He is the Deputy Director of the Allegheny County Economic Development. And one of the Allegheny County Economic Development is one of the entities that's making it possible to bring this economic development certification program to Pennsylvania next year. So I wanted to give Pat an opportunity to talk about why Allegheny County is supportive of this, why they're going to be sending people, and what they see the value as being, so you could get that information before we go into some of the details. So Pat, you want to take it from here? *7 if you're muted.
Is that better?
We got you. Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks for the opportunity to talk. I just wanted to go ahead and say, actually, I've participated in the certification process myself as well, too, and we send as many of our staff members as possible that we can afford to every year to continue this training. It's actually been a big help for everybody in our office, myself included. It really sharpens and hones your skills and such a different variety of things that we encounter on an everyday basis here, from literally creating real estate pro formas to doing some underwriting and some credit analysis. It's actually just a wonderful, wonderful way that not just, it almost becomes like a daily reinforces what you do on a daily basis is really what I'm trying to get at. And especially for the younger people or the new employees that have not been doing economic development for that long, it's a wonderful, wonderful introduction and great way to actually get them indoctrinated as to what we all face on a daily basis as we do this. So I can't say enough about it. It's been a wonderful experience, and everybody here has enjoyed it. And NDC does a wonderful job of they're intense courses, for the week, and you definitely go and you work all week. But really, by the end, you come away with one of the few types of seminars or training programs where it really does stick with you. So that's a credit to NDC and how they teach the courses and the course instructors that they've had. Everyone that I've had has been very, very exceptional. So it's a wonderful example of continuing education for all of your employees.
Thanks so much, Pat. Before I turn it over, does anybody have any questions for Pat? It's *7 to unmute your phone. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I do want to say that the Urban Redevelopment Authority in Pittsburgh is also very supportive and is sending a number of people. They actually may have to winnow down how many people they can send because there's so much enthusiasm for it. And DCED is also sending people. So it's perfect for the economic development practitioner and the community economic development practitioner, local officials. But I think it's really interesting to me that also the funders who are looking at proposals coming in find this to be a useful course as well. So I would like to introduce now Tom Jackson, who we've been working with from NDC and pulling this together, and the Housing Development Finance course over the last year and a half or so. And Tom is a lovely person to work with, and it's really been a pleasure, this relationship and the resources that NDC has brought to Pennsylvania. NDC is one of the oldest national nonprofit full-service community and economic development organizations actually in the United States. And Tom's been there since 2007 as a field director with the central team, and in 2011 assumed leadership of the training division while maintaining his role as technical assistance expert and as a trainer in development finance. So in addition to leading a training team that builds capacity in over 2,000 government and nonprofit professionals every year, Tom provides technical assistance, training, financing, and development assistance to municipal and non-for-profit clients throughout NDC's region, including Ohio, Kentucky, Iowa, Texas, and South Dakota. And in spite of that, he still answers his phone and his email, which makes himself accessible. Tom has worked extensively with projects utilizing NDC's New Markets Tax Credit Program, and which is the recipient of several of the largest tax credit allocations in the country since the program began. So without further ado, Tom, would you like to walk us through what the Economic Development Finance Certification Program entails, so that the folks on the phone can hear more about it and see whether this is something they want to pursue?
Great. Well, first of all, Liz and Joyce, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to talk about the series today. And Pat, I don't feel like I have much to say after that great overview of what you can expect in our course. That was really appreciated the feedback as well as the endorsement of what we try to achieve in the classroom and what we do feel that we regularly deliver, which is training that not only keeps you up to date on what's happening in our profession and economic development finance, which I think a lot of great panels and seminars and others do, but we do put a very strong emphasis on building skills and building your capacity to actually perform and deliver economic development results. And I've got a jam-packed set of slides here. They're probably a little too packed. I'm going to summarize some as we get through them, but I do want you all to be aware of the types of issues that we cover throughout the training, and but also what the objectives of going through that training, building those skills are in terms of what you can bring back to your communities and your agencies, and as well as to your own career. So I'll go ahead and dive in with the slides. As Joyce mentioned earlier, definitely interrupt or indicate that you've got a question at any time. I'd be glad to go back over an issue or cover something that's not on the slide. So, as the slide indicates here, it's a 4-course training series that has the goal of exploring the skills that are essential for the successful practice of economic development. Over the 4 courses at various times, and I'll go through a course-by-course overview, we're going to be digging very deep into both business credit and real estate finance analysis techniques. We're going to be talking about the essentials of a strong economic development toolbox and strategies that have worked around the country to deploy those tools, looking at federal tools, state tools, and local options that you have to improve and meet your development goals. We build the skills that you learn in early class into a capstone class that really focuses on negotiating and problem-solving skills, and finally deal structuring, opportunities, options, and techniques. The skills are taught within the context of a case study format, and all of our case studies are based on actual small business and real estate development deals that NDC has worked in and on around the country. So unlike some organizations, we don't bring in guest speakers or panelists very often. At our academy, if any of you have been there every other year up in DC, we certainly do a lot of panels like that. But in our classroom instruction, all of the instructors are deal doers themselves. So they are drawn from either our technical assistants, field director teams, or they are directly involved in one or more of our development finance programs, from our National Grow America Fund small business lending program. Liz just mentioned new market tax credits that we've been very active in since the beginning of the program, low-income housing tax credits, historic tax credits. We have staff dedicated to all of those as well, and they get involved in the classroom and might very well be some of the teachers that you see as part of this series. But all of the deals are brought to you in abstracted case studies that protect the innocent, but bring real-world problems to the fore and investigate. We know the way that the real-world actors solve the cases, but we really want to promote throughout the series how you look with today's eyes and from your own community perspective at how you would approach it, what concerns you would have, and how do you use the skills that we're going to be either sharpening, as Pat mentioned, or honing, or instilling in you for the first time. So that's the goal of our case study method. And I think I've covered the other bullet there right below it as well, in terms of how we will be challenging you to analyze financing issues and to implement options with the goal of getting critical projects off the drawing board to completion and into a successful operation. Just to make sure that things are sinking in, and by things, again, it's both the skills and the information that we're delivering both through lecture and in the case studies. You will have a proficiency exam at the end of each class that will test your knowledge, your mastery of the skills that have been passed along through the class. And given that 2 of the classes have prerequisites, we'll be testing on not only what's covered in that class, but also information that's been covered in prior classes, building up again to that final certification exam at the end of the 4th course in the series. Topics covered in the certification program include, and again, we've covered these in a number of different ways. I'm going to keep boring down into them and try not to be too boring, but just a good long list here of, as Pat mentioned, essential skills for economic development: business credit analysis, real estate finance analysis, loan packaging procedures, understanding and calculating debt capacity for both real estate projects and small business financing projects, how to utilize federal, state, and local economic development financing tools, maximizing equity attraction, and again, our goal in bringing equity to the greatest extent as possible to our projects is to minimize the gap that we have to close through the tools that we have access to, whether they be federal, state, or local, or even organizational on the very local side of things. Negotiating and problem-solving skills again, and deal structuring skills are how we will wrap up the 4-week series. Completion of the series is intended to build each participant's capacity to meet your organization's development goals by getting deals done. We at NDC have a very strong emphasis on making it to the finish line. So we're very transactional in a lot of the ways that we approach development. We appreciate and value good planning. We understand there's a heck of a lot else going on in terms of keeping your organization, your agency together and managed and running well. But in the end, getting deals done that deliver jobs, services, quality housing units, critical community facilities to your community, to your state, your district is really something that is indispensable to the practice of economic development. We expect each participant to be able to recognize how to maximize private debt and equity for projects to minimize financing gaps, to structure gap financing in ways that protect scarce public and philanthropic resources while maximizing community benefits. Again, part of the goal there is that we've all got a lot more to do than we have money to do most of the time, and by working smart with our available resources, leveraging them well, not overusing them to get a deal done when we can get it done with less, means that we have more left for the next project and the next project and the next project. We also feel that our training really builds the credibility of practitioners, both public and nonprofit, program leaders and project leaders in the community, in their careers, in the industry, and that credibility helps them partner with private sector lenders, developers, and others, both to, again, get deals done, but to attract necessary resources to keep your program running and maximize its effectiveness over time. And again, as I mentioned before, all of the training is intended to advance your community, your organization, and your career. So here's the courses one by one. Our first is ED 101, which is Economic Development Finance, and is indicated in the dense presentation here, which we generally have rules not to put this many words on a slide, but we just have so much to tell you. The goal of ED 101 is to really provide you with a solid understanding of both the basic tools and the newest techniques used in economic development, finance, and with the goal of assisting small businesses in creating jobs. Same thing again for real estate finance. On ED 101, we're only just slightly going to touch on real estate finance. We want you to understand both business credit analysis and real estate finance in the context of a larger economic development system, and recognizing where your efforts fit in. If your agency is more focused, then there's going to be skills there that you'll be using on a day-to-day basis. But we also want you to understand what other practitioners are doing in other aspects of economic development. You never know where your next job is going to take you, and we especially want you to be able to coordinate to deliver comprehensive community development wherever possible. So again, participants are going to be analyzing and structuring economic development projects for small and medium-sized business as well as commercial real estate developments utilizing incentive financing packages. We'll get into some of those tools with ED 101. Should help you conduct a business credit analysis process to identify factors that can prevent businesses from securing necessary financing for critical working capital and fixed asset acquisitions. We want you to understand a business's debt capacity, get a better fit between what the business can do given its current cash flows and the project that it might want to do that either is or isn't quite ready to go given their current situation. Where it seems like they can grow to fit the project, then we want you to understand how to close financing gaps that are keeping them from moving on to that level. So again, for this specific course, we're going to be looking at the economic development finance system as a whole, an overview, business credit analysis. You'll begin spreading small business financials in ED 101, fixed asset financing, a little bit of real estate financing, and also some of the economic development finance programs that can help you close gaps on both types of projects. 201, we're going to dig a lot deeper into business credit analysis, take the skills that you've learned in ED 101 and expand them to go further in understanding the creditworthiness of small businesses that come to you for assistance or that you feel are necessary to grow in your community to meet your goals, both for job creation and to provide necessary services to your residents. Here we're going to be digging deeper into the credit analysis and underwriting practices of private lenders so that you can understand what it is that they're likely to offer to a small business, why they might have said no to the small business that's coming to you for assistance, why in general certain types of businesses are more or less bankable than others, and what you can do to address that. You're going to be digging into the financial statements of actual companies through our case study approach to understand the problems both in single years or in trends over time that can render a operating small business unbankable in the eyes of most commercial lenders. And again, what you can do both on a technical assistance side to help them understand those issues, but also to structure financing that moves them forward. Again, credit analysis process we'll be getting deeper in. We're going to look versus ED 101 a lot more closely at permanent working capital needs and how you can structure permanent working capital financing that's appropriate and doesn't put the small business at risk of defaulting or not being able to refresh annual lines of credit. That was a huge issue during the recession, and access to well-structured permanent working capital financing is really a critical understanding, a knowledge, a skill that we want to build in all of you. Cash flow analysis, how well they're matching sources and uses of funds in their business, and then finally looking at projections for continued growth and deal structuring options to get both working capital and fixed asset financing done. I'll take a breath there. I don't know if there's any questions yet or if I should just keep pushing through. All right, I'm going to keep pushing through. Our third class, ED 202, is going to get back to real estate finance in a very systematic and thorough way. We're going to give you a taste of it on the fourth day of the first class, but in 202, we're really going to get down to step-by-step analysis of real estate development process from the perspective of lenders, developers, and investors, and looking at the kind of rates of returns that all of those actors are looking for to bring them to the table, to keep them to the table in different types of projects, and what types of public sector involvement, intervention, assistance are often needed to get projects done, especially where your current market isn't delivering them. So if you're moving into a tough low-mod neighborhood, or you're working in an underserved rural area, or you're bringing a new type of project to what has been primarily been a industrial area that's been semi-abandoned or fully abandoned for years, and now you want to look at mixed use and loft development as well as retail development. We'll be getting into each type of project and discussing what some of the impediments are to getting them done and what some of the approaches, techniques, skills that you'll need to have to help bring them to the finish line. Again, maximizing debt and equity, just as with small business, is something that we look at closely so that we can get the project done without blowing all of our funding in any given year, all of our organizational resources or our public budget on a single project. We want to get as much done as we can. So here on real estate, a very long list of what we'll be looking at. It's a very thorough course in terms of helping you understand the impacts of operating projections on revenues, on expenses, how that impacts the valuation of the building, how appraisers approach the various means of valuing a building and a project, whether it's as is or as complete. Understanding the debt capacity and how that's affected by projections of revenue and expenses, and confidence in the market that developers have, the returns on investment that developers are expecting to see if you want to keep them at the table and interested in your projects and your neighborhood. And overall, just a good, deep understanding of the benefits of cash flow, tax benefits, and appreciation in development, and how that really makes the whole industry run, and what role you can play in making it work better for your community and your organization. Finally, we bring it all together in ED 300. It's the final course in the series. And here you're going to be using all of the skills that you've learned in prior courses, both on the business credit analysis and on the real estate finance side of things, layering a problem-solving process over the top of them that recognizes that obviously, while financing is a very big issue that an awful lot of projects face. I was just on the phone yesterday with a project in LA where they've been working on it for 20 years, and it's a $24 million project, and right now they're only down to $5 million in gap still. So financing is often the biggest problem that projects face, but there's plenty of others. Political, social, it used to be not in my backyard. A lot of times these days it's nowhere on planet Earth for certain types of projects. So all of those issues have to be dealt with as well, and understanding how you recognize the resources of all the actors, their concerns, and structure a deal that works for everyone. That's generally the only way to keep everybody at the table and get to the finish line. Here, we're going to be looking at more complex case studies that involve financing that has to get deeper into tax credit options, or into unique structuring options that we're not going to go as heavy into in the earlier courses. We're going to be looking at restructuring debt through workouts when there have been partial defaults or issues with repayment from the borrower. We'll be valuing small businesses, medium-sized businesses for acquisition and buyouts, looking at bankruptcy, and again, as I indicated before, going deeper into tax credits. Tax credits will be practiced and covered in ED 202 on the real estate side. Here we're actually going to have you structure new markets, tax credits as well. So the topics covered, again, I think I've probably listed most, but there's the slide. The problem-solving, deal structuring, workouts and buyouts, and syndication for tax credit purposes to understand what an important tool the tax credit programs are, both on the federal and state level for equity attraction, but also some of the risks that organizations run in terms of structuring tax credit syndications in ways that protect the public interest as well as the organization's interests. And as Joyce already reviewed, or maybe that was you, Liz, I apologize if I got that wrong, here's our schedule at this point for the series of classes. And with that, why don't I just open it up for questions, concerns. I know I've mostly covered content. If you want to talk dress code or anything else, we can get into that as well.
This is Liz. Can you tell us a little bit about who the ideal participant in this program is, and maybe how does somebody know if it's right for them?
Sure, Liz. Again, as I kind of hinted at earlier, life is long, and more we're all experiencing multiple careers as we move through our careers, or multiple jobs, rather, as we move through our lives. I can tell you, I've been in development now for 28 years, and what I thought I didn't need to know, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, at some point in my life or another, I found out I was wrong, and I did need to know that. But I think, a good part of what Liz is asking the question for me to focus on here is, and Pat certainly referenced this at the beginning, these are not survey classes. They're not overview classes. They're not general, what's the shape of the economic development industry today types of classes. These are working sessions that will keep you very often more than 8 hours a day in the classroom, not only getting through lecture that will expose you to new information, or it might give you understandings of information that you briefly were introduced to in college, or you've seen elsewhere in your career, but now you're going to be practicing it, and getting your hand cramped, spreading financials on paper, knowing that to get a pro forma going, that as much as you understand what the pro forma is for, if you're going to start developing it yourself, then you're going to have to enter and write down the annual revenue by type of unit, whether it's commercial or residential. You're going to have to understand your expenses and how they inflate and escalate over time. All of that's going to bring you down to numbers both on the business side and on the real estate side that help you determine your debt capacity, your return on investment, what kind of gaps that you're facing that you'll need to overcome to be able to get the project done. So these are courses primarily for doers, deal doers, as we say, and there will be times when you will learn information that you might not be doing today, but maybe you work with other people in your department who are working with that, and a better understanding of that information will let you look for opportunities to interact with their programs and their projects in ways that develop some synergy. Maybe rather than being a daily doer, you're a supervisor, and you need to build better skills to understand what your staff and colleagues are doing. But for the most part, we really want to build very practical skills here in development finance that let you get deals done, or let you develop programs that are responsive to the needs in your community and make projects feasible, whether it's you actually implementing the program directly or a number of people who work with or for you.
Thank you.
You bet. Again, I think Pat kicked it off just wonderfully well, and we hear it from folks all the time. And I know in my own life, I lived it as a municipal development officer, and ongoing in my work across the country with NDC is that these skills are indispensable, and there's just nothing like getting down and dirty and practicing them to build your confidence that you can do it. It's hard work, but it's not in any way meant to be confusing or mystical. And our instructors work very hard to make sense of the material for you and to show you how you can do it and bring it back to your agency to, again, advance your community, advance your agency, and hopefully throughout all of this, advance your own career satisfaction as well as career performance.
If folks have questions or comments, just hit *7 to unmute yourself.
Tom, one of the questions we get a lot from people is, why does it have to be so much time? You know, how I can't afford to take 10 days out of the office in two different years, and isn't there any way it could be shorter? I mean, why do you have it? Why is it so time intensive?
Yeah, again, we hear that plenty of times, and Liz and Joyce, I know you know that we're looking at ways to take part of the courses into online formats. But I think the realization, or the reality rather, of even providing some of the skill building in an online setting, but still coming together for case studies and tests, is it's never going to take less time. You might be able to, work in that 30 minutes before you go to sleep at night, or for an hour when you wake up before you go into work. That's going to take a lot more time to get through, and we feel that this almost boot camp approach that we take with classes is really one of the most efficient ways to bring your skill level up quickly. So over the years, over months, over weeks, doing a combination of online and in-class or other trainings, I'm sure you can get to the same place, but these are courses that are meant to be very intensive, that sense that you're in a foxhole with other folks while you're going through some of the cases builds great camaraderie in teams around the table. It also provides a real opportunity in that week-long experience to understand how other organizations, maybe they're 2 miles from you, maybe they're 200 miles from you across the state, how they're addressing those challenges, what tools and programs they've developed to be able to address financing gaps or to get projects done. So again, I think the intensity as well as the collegiality of the courses, we find people who routinely tell us, and the vast majority routinely tell us, that as much as they hated the idea of having to miss a whole week of work, and of course it put them behind, and they were scrambling at 10 o'clock at night to return emails for the regular job, that the experience of dedicating themselves to getting through this class 4 weeks over 2 years in this case was the best learning experience that they had in their life. And we're always working to make that better. We're investigating ways to make it shorter. But at this point, we feel confident that people who do dedicate themselves to the full 20 days are going to feel like it was time well spent, and will really have a major impact on their skills and their ability to work in the economic development industry.
Thanks, Tom. Does anybody else have questions for Tom? Any concerns? Anything else that you'd like to know?
We do have a question from Zachary Norwood. You can unmute yourself, but I'll ask the question. For organizations that have limited capacity, would this program increase efficiency and effectiveness with community and economic development efforts?
That's a great question.
It is. So Zachary and I kind of hit this when I talked about the various roles that folks play in economic and community development. When you get to a small nonprofit or a very small community that maybe only has one staff member, then it's a question of, as you're struggling to keep things going day to day and get your work done, is this going to be too wide of a sample to really be of benefit to you? Again, the core skills that we're trying to impart to you here, the ability to understand debt attraction, equity attraction, the issues that impact both of those very critical issues, the issues down in the project, whether it's a small business project or it's a real estate project, that make them unbankable. I think those skills, when layered on then with both the problem solving and the deal structuring skills that we end up the series with, are indispensable no matter what level you're working at. So whether you're doing a very small revolving loan fund that's just trying to get off the ground, and you're only doing $50,000 maximum loan to start out with, or you're doing participating in tax increment financing for a $100 million industrial expansion, the numbers and the concepts and the issues that you face are very much the same. So I think that, again, for a small organization, the biggest issue initially is just, as Liz and Joyce have said, getting away from the office for a week. But I do think you're going to find that while you might have limited capacity now, the ability to go in and really talk the talk of bankers, to gain the respect of developers, to gain the respect of small business people whose time is very limited, so they need to know that you're bringing value to them when you do deal with them, that you're either going to get them a loan or help them understand better what they need to do so that they can get financing. Those are skills that, to me, cut across the entire industry, whether it's big or small. That get close to answering what you were asking?
We had an additional question again. Zachary, if you want to comment, just hit *7. From James Beck. He's inquiring on what the cost is.
And I'm going to let...
We do hope to have scholarships available. We don't know how many. There will be some half-price scholarships available for not-for-profit organizations. And I don't know yet whether they'll be available for municipal officials who come from very small disinvested communities, but certainly for not-for-profit community and economic development folk. The tuition for the entire 20-day course over 2 years is $3,700. Yeah, it's a big bite. The way, obviously it's over 2 years, it's like a college course is truly what it is. When the Housing Alliance first got involved in this about 1.5 years ago, we were approached by the Urban Redevelopment Authority and Economic Development in Allegheny County to bring it, and we were extremely skeptical because of the time commitment and the amount of money involved for people. We thought, oh my gosh, this is just asking too much. Is it really worth it? And so we spent several months interviewing people who had been through the program, both housing development and economic development, and we literally got no negative feedback from anybody, whether somebody had taken it within the last year or 20 years before. People felt that it was a significant boon to their careers. So we really entered this as skeptics and became converts because of the impact that it seemed to have on people's careers. And then the other thing that we heard was from many of the funding and financing entities, whether they were public or private, is that they can really tell the difference in competitiveness of applications based on people who have been through this program. So it's a big bite in terms of time. It's a big bite in terms of the tuition. You've heard from Tom what you get in really concrete terms, and from Pat about why, from a funding perspective, they think it's very worthwhile. I just think that we're not going to try and minimize to you that this is a big commitment of time and of money. It is a big commitment. And, the feedback we've gotten from the people who have done it is that it is a big commitment, but that it has had a payoff from them in the instances where it's been the right program for them. And so I think that the one piece of advice that I have based on our experience is really to do that soul searching and make sure that you're ready for the commitment and that you that you can give the time over to it. Because it seems like for the people who get to yes to that question and who really do make the sacrifice, it seems to be paying off for them. So that's where it stands. We'll put we'll send out to everybody the fee schedule and the date and the link to the curriculum that's on NDC's website. And we can't make the scholarship I guess we could make the scholarship applications available. I just don't know at this moment how many scholarships we will have available. But we'll make the scholarship application available as well. Those decisions probably won't be made for probably 60 days, I would say at least. It'll be probably after Thanksgiving until we'll have a final determination on scholarships.
Maureen asked the question about prerequisites, and I should have covered that in my slides, Maureen, so thanks for asking. The two courses with prerequisites are ED 201 and ED 300. So, if you've already picked up 101 somewhere else, then you'd be ready to go into ED 201. But that's a real critical prerequisite for ED 201 to learn how we approach spreading financials and the tools that we use so that you're ready to continue your learning as you go deeper into business credit analysis. And then the other prerequisite is that for ED 300, the final course in the series, you have to have taken and passed the exam for all three of the prior courses in the series. Now, she also had a question about location.
Hello?
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 Is that you, Maureen? Okay.
All right, so then Maureen had a question about location, Liz and Joyce.
Yeah, right now they're all scheduled to take place in Pittsburgh, actually in Homestead, at the Spring Hill Suites.
Right.
Hello, this is Bonita Cummings. How are you?
Good.
Hi.
I just wanted to first thank the Pennsylvania Housing Allowance for this webinar. From my perspective of Story Mansion community, it kind of helps me to really know what's going on in housing. So I really wanted to thank them for that. I did hear her say they were going to send some information regarding like the time and the whole outline of the time and date and cost of the program.
Yes.
I wanted to find out, is the payment all at once, or is the payment broken down over the segmented dates? Are you paying per the week for each section, or is it a one-time cost?
You can see, we'll work with you to make it work.
For instance, this last one, we had a couple of people who paid per week. decided to do it a week at a time, it costs a little bit more when you do it that way. But Bonita will make sure to get the info out to you.
Thank you.
We're happy to work with you.
I'm sorry?
We're happy to work with you.
Both the Housing Alliance and NDC are nonprofit, so we're in this for the mission. So we want people to succeed and to make it possible for you to have a good experience.
I know they're going to send it out, but is this is done in what city or state? This
Pittsburgh. This is going to be in Pittsburgh.
Oh, it is going to be in Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it ever coming to Philadelphia?
Not the economic development one. We're not bringing it. I don't know about NDC. The housing development one, I think, will be in Philadelphia. Some portion of it will be next year.
Yeah, that's correct. Philadelphia is one of our open training sites, so the housing series will be available over there. And the ED series. And for James,
the one thing
go ahead.
Sorry. There is a chance that 2 of the weeks may be held in Harrisburg, not in Pittsburgh, to make it easier for DCED staff to participate, but that hasn't been firmed up yet, and we hope to get that nailed down again within the next 60 days. But for right now, for planning purposes, Pittsburgh.
Right. I was going to say to James that I'm sorry that even the cost that's there seems prohibitive. If you are able to get $1 million grant, Liz and Joyce and I would love to talk with you. You might find, James, not to make light of it. I've worked in nonprofit staffless CDCs as well, and I'm working for one that doesn't working with one now that doesn't have a full-time staff. But it's worth talking to community development bankers in your area, foundations in your area that maybe getting this training under a few folks' belt would make you more likely to receive the grants that you're looking for. So again, I think as Liz indicated, the banks take our training very seriously. They send their own community development staff routinely to our trainings. Federal Home Loan Bank, regional authorities. The federal government sends almost all of their staff who are working in development finance through our training. So they'll understand the value if you come to them with a request for assistance to get your organization a scholarship.
There's one final, an additional question. If you could talk a little bit on the certification test and the requirements to maintain the certification.
Yeah, glad to, and thanks for the question, Ray. Actually, each course has got an exam where you need to pass 70%. You gain 70% of the points available to pass the test. If you fall short of that, we have retests available that we will make available and assist you in getting through. The final certification test is, of course, the toughest. It brings everything together, but still there the goal is that you'll get 35% of the business credit and 35% of the real estate credits that are available to come up with that 70%. After you are certified, you'll receive a certification certificate from NDC and plaque. Our recertification requirement is implemented in the last 2 years, and it's very easy to get certified. Really, mostly want to find out where your career is headed since you were trained. So free webinars here are available to EDFPs and HDFPs to help maintain your certification, a survey on where you are, how the training has affected your career, any changes in your career, participation in any of our training. And once you take any of our certification classes, you're always welcome to retake them at an open site at no charge. Participating in other regional or national organization meetings, IEDC, I'm sure the Housing Alliance Annual Association meeting, all of those are eligible if you apply for recertification credits for those as well. So it's easy to stay certified. We mostly want to stay in touch with you and understand when the training is making a positive impact and of course, always finding how we can improve the training over time.
Great.
You're welcome.
We have 5 minutes left. If anyone else has questions or thoughts, comments. Well, I think we'll call it a day then. Thank you, everyone, so much. Please expect some additional information from the Housing Alliance. If anyone has any questions, feel free to call our office as well. Thanks to James and Tom for a great presentation.
Thanks
all.
We look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.